Massage you with water. What about the float there?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's tiring.
I thought about that.
That's not what it's not.
It was not. And see, sent me back to take it.
Oh, really? One of them. Yeah. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll begin with introductions. I'm Tom Prickett, Chair of the Zoning Hearing Board. To my far right, to your left, is Kim Stranisa, who's the stenographer. If we work our way across, James Jones is the secretary of the committee. Kara Sheridan, to my immediate right, is a vice chair. To my left is Christopher Volz, who is an attorney with Tucker Aaronsburg, and he's our solicitor. And to my far left, to your far right, is Elizabeth, or Liz Ross, who's the zoning director. Would anyone who plans to submit a variance request or to give testimony tonight please stand to be sworn in? Sir, if you plan to give testimony or are part of a variance request, please stand to be sworn in. Thank you. We'll review the minutes of the previous meeting on August 21st, 2023. Are there any corrections? If not, is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved unanimously. And we'll move to, there is no old business, we'll move to new business. And the first is application number 2023-006, Brandon and Kirsten Geary at Windcrest Drive, and it borders Springcrest Drive in Cecil, Pennsylvania. Nature of the request is basically a two front yard setback variances for new home construction. In the Windcrest Drive side, 8.97 foot variance, round to 9. On the Springcrest Drive side, 22.11 variance request, round to 22.5. If you'll please come forward and use the podium, you're welcome to use a microphone. And if you'll identify yourself by name and address, and then whatever information you'd like to provide.
That works. We'll start with that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm Kirsten Geary. My husband Brandon Geary is with me as well. And so this is for the Windcrest, corner of Windcrest and Springcrest Drive. We don't have an official address yet. Just backstory. Okay. So we've heard,
Basically, we have two front yards, I guess, don't you?
yes, we are in a situation where we have two front yards, which put us in a unique position. So we bought the lot earlier this year. Our parents, well, my husband's parents, my in-laws actually moved to Cecil in 2020, and we fell in love with the area, my husband and I, walking the Montour Trail all the time during the pandemic. And we knew we wanted to build a house in an already established neighborhood, so we found the lot in the FLIR plan, fell in love with it. We're assured that it was buildable. We could face the house either direction. We'd have no issues with anything. Then when the builder and the surveyor came out, we learned that because we had the corner lot, we had two front yards, which basically makes the lot unbuildable for an average-sized home in a residential area such as the FLIR plan.
What is the square footage of the proposed house?
1,600 square feet.
Okay.
Yes. So we bought the lot, moved in with our in-laws, and then we're faced with that. And then after talking to both the survey and the builder, they both explained that without the variance, like we said, a really skinny home like a townhouse would be the best we could fit there. So we're trying to put, a regular size 1,600 square foot home that goes with the character of the rest of the neighborhood, and it'll be in alignment with it. It doesn't interfere with any of the sight lines or the stop signs or anything like that. There's still plenty of room on the side of the house. I spoke to several of our neighbors who I've met since purchasing the lot, and nobody had any issues at all. I was able to walk most of them outside and actually show them where it was staked out and everything like that, and I was met with no concern, and one of them is here with us today to speak on our behalf.
And I think one of her questions was going to be, could you design a home to fit within the setback requirements? But you've said if you would, it would be a small patio-type home and really not what you desire.
Not what we desire, not really what would be in accordance with the rest of the houses in the FLIR plan. Yeah, and that's our understanding, the best of my understanding. The surveyor basically put it as you can't build a standard-sized single-family home. Were his words.
Was there, has it ever been brought up, so you are within the setbacks of the right side, if you're facing the way the house is, the right side of the property. You actually have an excess of 4.4 feet, 4 3/4 feet. Have you discussed with them the possibility of shifting 4 3/4 feet to the right?
I have not discussed it with the builder, but the surveyor did mention that, and that was after the builder meetings, so that would be no issue if we had to take 4 feet off of the left side to move it to the right side.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, when we look at approving variances, we talk about like that you're doing the minimum possible with the space that you have. So so there's no reason that you couldn't accommodate shifting 4 3/4 feet to the right.
Yeah, not to my knowledge. I think the survey that the builder originally had didn't quite show that, and then the surveyor came out and did it again after we had the proposed build with the builder, and so yeah, we would be able to do that.
And I just want to, I guess, state sort of for the record that I did drive up there, and it seems to me, and maybe you can confirm, that who would be your rear neighbor, that is one of the people who signed off on this.
That's
this
correct, and that's also
survey.
who sold us the lot.
That's also, okay.
Wait a minute. Take the time and speak.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just to state that is 8 Springcrest Drive, Richard Muckle is the rear neighbor who, I guess the way I look at it is that if anything, his property is the one that would be blocked from view from the road when you're entering, correct?
Correct. Yes, and he did sign off on it, and he's the one that sold us the lot, so he had walked us through before we bought it that we would situate the house in any position that we saw fit.
Are there any questions? Does council have any question? No? Is anyone present to give testimony favorable or unfavorable towards this variance request? Please. And if you'll identify yourself by name and address.
Hi, my name is Christopher Karwowski. I live at 75 Windcrest Drive, which, if you were looking at the front of their proposed house, is the house directly beside it.
Okay.
I would actually say that of everybody in the neighborhood that would be impacted, we would be the most impacted, just regarding the distance between the two houses. And my wife and I have absolutely zero issue with where the house will be located as they have it surveyed, or even if they had to shift it over some as well. It's set back far enough where it wouldn't obstruct view of stop signs or anything like that. And as she stated, Mr. Muckle was the one who sold them the lot. So I know they went around and got plenty of signatures for everyone in the neighborhood who approved, but I figured, like I said, I would voice my support as the neighbor that would definitely be the most affected by the building of the house.
Okay. We appreciate your testimony. Favorable or unfavorable testimony bears heavily on our decision, so we appreciate your input.
You're welcome.
I think there was another gentleman that, yes, please come forward. And again, if you identify yourself by name and address, sir.
Hi, my name's David, and I'll spell my last name, DeSafey, D-E-S, like Sam, A-F-E-Y. I live at 19 Springcrest Drive, and I've been there since we built the home in 1989. I'm here to testify against it, and the reason is, and in the interest of disclosure of the real estate the Geary family here, this is nothing new. 3 or 4 years ago, Mr. Muckle tried to sell this lot in this exact same scenario we're going through right now. Although when he was getting ready to sell it, a builder was going to buy it contingent upon getting a variance to put a modern-sized home on it. And it was denied. And it's unfortunate that they bought this property without putting a contingency on it. But the history of this lot and the denial that went through the procedure is a matter of public record. I don't know if the board will tell her that. I don't recognize anyone that may have been here 3 or 4 years ago. The lot is designed, the history of the lot was, Mr. Muckle actually took 8 or 10 feet off of it when he purchased it, and it sat empty, and one was built, and this lot has been empty for a long time. And when they looked at the utility maps, the utilities, if you try to bring the variance up closer to the road, you're actually going over top of utilities and things. And it's unfortunate that you purchased this without getting a contingency, or I hope he disclosed that to you. He did. It was 3 or 4 years ago. Went through this exact same scenario. They brought the maps out. They looked. It couldn't be done. And, before I came to give testimony today, I looked at the real estate site and was hoping you didn't purchase the lot, but it looks like you already purchased it. And in the interest of real estate disclosure, he probably should have told you that. So I don't know if you used a realtor or not. I would ask the board, just to cut to the chase here, there's 5 criteria that need met for any variance. When I built my home, I asked that exact same question on Springcrest. I said, can I bring the house back a little bit? No, everybody's house is whatever it is, how many feet from the road, just the way it is, unless you have all these hardship and physical circumstances. So it's unfortunate that you didn't look at that, and I would just ask the board to go by the 5 criteria. When you make your decision, the same, and if you need to, you can look at the history of this. I know it was before COVID, 3 or 4 years ago. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of this gentleman? If not, thank you very much.
I guess I have just a question for Liz. Do we have record of a prior zoning request on this that was denied? Okay, just curious.
No, thank you. Is there anyone else to give testimony? If not, any other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we grant a 9.5-foot variance from the front yard setback facing Windcrest Drive and an 18-foot variance from the front yard setback facing Springcrest Drive, so the applicants may construct a home as depicted in the application and explained at the hearing. And that would be a requirement that you shift that to the right for those accordance without encroaching on the setback on the far against this gentleman's property. That's my motion.
Is there a second to that motion? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those abstain or against?
Aye.
Passes 2-1. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our second application is number 2023-0007, Angelo Spenpietro. Thank you, sir. And this is 15 Bernardi Lane, McDonald, Pennsylvania. Nature of request is an 8-foot front yard setback variance to install a new front deck. The deck, I believe, is 14 feet by 8 feet.
Yes, 14 by 8, correct.
And I think the UDO establishes a minimum of 35-foot front yard setback.
Yes.
The podium is yours.
Okay. Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Angelo Spenpietro. I'm here, I'm trying to just get a front porch. My wife and I just built a house in Bernardi Lane. We purchased the lot from my father-in-law. It's a family lane, it's a private lane. We built the house, I think we finished it last year. And we don't have a front porch, so Our house is only 31 feet back from the lane, so I don't really know what else to do. The 14 feet length is where the returns are in the house, and then 8-foot standard coming out, so.
Questions?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to tell from the diagram. I can't quite see, it's pretty small. I know there was some
I have a picture if you wanted to see it.
yeah, that'd be great. I know that there's some paperwork included about the lane and shared usage. I just don't understand the pertinence of that to the request, trying to understand how that plays in. Maybe the picture will help.
Yeah, so we had an easement agreement for everybody on the lane, so when we built, $30 surprisingly, so the 14 feet would be lengthened and 8 foot out the front porch.
Okay.
And if you can show council and Liz too. Thank you.
Right-of-way agreements for everybody on the lane. That was from a lawyer. We had to get that to build. So just to say we wouldn't, affect anybody on the lane. So, and I brought my father-in-law here with me today. So he lives on the lane as well.
Okay. Is there any testimony favorable or unfavorable? If not, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we grant the request for the 8-foot dimensional variance to the front yard setback so the applicant may construct the 14 by 8-foot deck as depicted in the application and explained at the hearing.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved unanimously. Good luck. Our third and final application is number 2023-008, Jody Datum, 26 Burnside Road, Cannonsburg. Nature of the request is a variance to install a 6-foot-high solid privacy fencing in required front yard, and the UDO, which is 1204.E.3, restricts fences to 3 feet high in the front yard. If
And,
you'll,
sorry, it also restricts privacy fencing,
Solid.
correct? Did I miss that?
yes, yes.
So there's two things that we're considering here, so go ahead.
I'm Jody Datum, and I own 26 Burnside, and had the property surveyed, put up a fence, and apparently the neighbor doesn't like my fence, and he's been giving me some issues, being accused of digging his wife's car whenever I cut the grass on that property, so the fence will help deter that, build a blockade, so if I cut the grass, it won't interfere or anything infringe on that. And the dogs, he's saying that the dogs are going over there, going to the bathroom on his property, which they're not. They're actually on my property, but he's claiming more because he doesn't agree with the survey. So I would like to extend it, the fence down, and just basically try to block him out.
Who is the occupant of the property?
My son.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, as already has been stated, we have two issues to weigh here. One is the issue of the privacy fence as opposed to an open fence, and the other is the height, the variance request. Any other questions?
Just in line with that, would it be considered to construct a different style fence that's in compliance with the open style requirement?
Well, being the fact that he's accusing me of cutting grass and accused me of throwing a stone at his wife's car while I was cutting grass, I'd like to have something solid to barricade that, you know what I mean?
So as opposed to a lattice or wire that it's going to allow things to go through?
Driveway is where the, I'm sorry. I have a picture of where the driveway is, and it's pretty close because the property line's pretty close to his driveway, so there's no stones in there, but I'm being accused of throwing stones while I'm cutting grass,
There's nothing worse than a bad neighbor.
So if, though, the issue with the grass cutting and the stones and the grass, why does that require a 6-foot high fence versus a 3-foot high fence?
I did a 6-foot privacy fence. I just wanted to extend it. And to be honest with you, since this fence ordeal started, he's been giving me problems. I had the police out there twice because of issues that he's been causing me. And I've been calling the police, and the police even said, why did we stop the fence where we did? And I had to explain to them that we had the ordinance. But they didn't see any issue with the fence going down any further. It's not barricading anything on the road, obstructing any view or anything.
Yeah, I think the issue is that the ordinance defines that we can't have fences over 3 feet tall, and we're not intended to have fences that are of privacy type versus like if it was chain link or lattice, even if it had like some sort of overlay that you could see through. So if there's, a reason that we need to, deal with it, that it's a safety concern or it's a, another kind of danger to others in the community, sometimes we can grant those kind of things. I'm just trying to understand though, because some of it is, it sounds like it's to some extent a civil problem, right, with the neighbor. You are correct. Yeah.
I think it would be very easy for us to make a motion independent of the variance of the height if it were an open fence. The difficulty we're having is because it is a privacy, a closed fence.
I have something to add, just from a zoning perspective. I believe that the fence regulations, being the requirement for the open style and the maximum height, are all for visibility, sight distance, safety concerns. And due to the elevation of his home and where the fence is going, none of those apply. It's not near where the driveways actually come down onto the road. It's much higher. It wouldn't be blocking any visibility. It's well outside of the right-of-way. And, while I understand everyone stressing the 2 points there, I do think that the reason that those regulations are in place, are for the safety and visibility, which
Okay.
I don't believe would be affected in this case.
And maybe we can introduce these as additional exhibits?
Yep, perfect.
So these are actually, here, you want to...
From either direction, we got pictures from both directions. And it shows you the slope of the hill where it's not going to interfere with or obstruct any view.
So those are from Burnside Road, and the fence will be going on top of the hillside.
And there, just to be clear, there's no intent to put a fence in the front of the property, correct?
No, there was no intent to do a fence in the front.
You're located fairly proximal to that turtle twist, correct? Yes. And the food truck that's there. And so, yeah, those properties are very elevated.
Correct. You are correct.
And how close to the, to Burnside Road would the fence extend? Like from the side?
I was going to plan on going to the top of that slope right there.
Any other questions? Is there any other,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So it won't go to the road?
No,
It's
it's
gonna
not going to
be-
go to the road. It's going to be to the top of the hill.
Okay.
So there's going to be an embankment there. It's probably 6 feet up, 6 feet from the road, but it's at the top of the hill.
And related to the safety guidelines, the one concern, the reason I was asking my question was the neighbor drive would be the visibility of a car backing out of that neighbor's driveway.
And that would not be a factor, correct, Liz?
No, I do not believe that the proposed location of this fence would, cause any blockage to where the neighbor would be pulling in or out of his driveway, or any driveway. I have a picture from when I posted the property that I thought would show it a little bit better, but it really doesn't. But you can see where the top of the hill is. Now, this is the Datum's driveway, and I'll pass it down for everybody to take a look at real quick. But you can see how the hillside goes up to where their front door is, and that's where the fence is proposed to be, at the top of the hill. So just maybe take a look at that real quick. Do you have one too, Kara? Yeah.
This is a different one. No, that I drove past today.
So that's this house in question. The fence is,
You'd be continuing
That is-
that white
that is the
fence?
fence.
You'd be continuing the white fence that we can see in the backyard?
Yes, it'd be continued the same style fence.
Who's phone do I have?
that's hers.
How about if I give you her phone?
How about we just play phone roulette here and see who-
Is there any other testimony specific to this variance request? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I guess I have a question
Okay.
for council, is there something we could say to limit how far to the front of the property that fence can go?
We could put that in a, for example, usually we grant them the requested relief as depicted in the application and explained at the hearing. I don't see a measurement in anything in our application, but we have heard testimony that it wouldn't go beyond the slope.
Okay,
So we could use that as a limitation, that it will not go down the slope into the road. And how far away would you estimate that to be?
By estimation, about 6 feet from the road.
So maybe approximately 6 feet from the road as well. So we have 2 points where, plus or minus a little bit, we'll still meet our goals.
So not to go beyond the slope of the hill and approximately within 6 feet of the road.
Beyond,
Accurate?
approximately beyond, or not to go within, yes.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the request for a 3-foot height variance and a use variance to permit the construction of the proposed fence not to go below the slope of the hill and/or approximately 6 feet from the road.
Is there a second to that motion?
I do second, not for it to go beyond the slope of the hill, correct?
All those in favor? Aye. Approved unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other new business? If not, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good luck.
Let's go Steelers.
Who made the motion to adjourn?
Kara. James seconded.